Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the LOL Pro League. My name is Rapid. With me is Sigilis, and we're hopping into our second best of three series. This time coming from the winners bracket, the LPL, and this is going to be one of the best matches, not only of today, but of the entire tournament. As Virtus.Pro, the CIS, take on France's Thunderbot Sparta, otherwise known as just Team Sparta. They were the #1 seed in the European LCS expansion tournament, and while they did lose to, I believe it was Different Dimension from Greece, they're still one of the strongest teams in the EU West. We'll have a sub in place of Lunette. It'll be Hercubot, the team's owner, subbing in for support.
Yeah, and Hercubot, he's a big name in and of himself. He used to be a great pro player back in the day, and talking about these teams in this tournament though, Thunderbot Sparta tied for first seed with Rock's Kiss, and then we've got Virtus.Pro down at 4th seed. They went 4 for 3. So looking at the numbers, you'd expect TBS to be coming into this pretty hot.
Yeah, specifically just because one of the ways that a lot of international tournaments goes is that, the good thing is you get to showcase some of the highlight the talent from the region, the CIS. That's where Virtus.Pro are coming from. But Thunderbot Sparta, they've competed on an international level just across Europe. And so while they may come in as somewhat as favorites, Virtus.Pro have been tearing this league apart. Specifically, Power of Dreams and Mirror End. Those guys are really, really outstanding laners, and I want to see what this Karthus pickup's gonna do, because we haven't really talked about the picks and bans just yet. Still a Warwick ban, even though his itemization's been nerfed a little bit, but Karthus, haven't seen too much out about that, unless you were watching Easy Hoon last night in OGN, put up some big Karthus numbers.
Yeah, the Karthus pickup's interesting. To be honest, I have seen it more frequently in the jungle recently than in mid or top lane. Obviously, top lane, used to see Karthus top lane a long time ago, back in the day, because that ultimate obviously being global meant that he still had some presence up there. But nowadays, you're never going to throw Karthus up against a Gnar realistically, so it's probably going to be in the mid lane. Going to be interesting to see what TBS try and pick against it. Obviously, there are a lot of options, only, really Xerath being banned out in the mid lane here, so they've got their pick of the litter. They can go for whatever they want in order to counter that.
Yeah, now the question becomes, is this a mid lane Karthus or a top lane Karthus? I've seen both recently, and I think mid lane obviously works somewhat better, but still no guarantees, as the last pick has been saved for that mid or top flex. Knowing what you're going up against is a big decider for where you decide to put that the Karthus, and with a Gnar top lane, maybe you can farm that one out. And actually, here's another ambiguous pick, is a Kassadin, who I would expect now to be going mid lane, just because Karthus does not deal well with Fizz.
Yeah, I mean, the Karthus top lane against Gnar is still going to be a bit of a struggle, I think, but Fizz is even more of a struggle for him. So setting him to the top lane makes a lot of sense. Obviously, also the teleport, allowing him to come down and gank, maybe pick up some early kills, snowball towards that late game. If you look at the late game, actually, from Virtus.Pro, it's really strong. You've got great engagement coming out of Pantheon, and then you've got tons and tons of damage coming out of Karthus, Jinx, and Kassadin. So they've got a decent team comp later on. The mid game, though, for TBS is just sick. You've got Gnar, you've got Fizz, you've also got Graves and Alistair who are excelling the mid game, and you've got Lee Sin to get you there.
Lee Sin, one of the best junglers out there. Not only just a good jungler, Sean's one of his best junglers. I always think Sean's is so cool to cast playing League of Legends, because he's also a caster. He casts French League of Legends, and also he just happens to be ridiculously good at the game. And with this big double assassin combo, excited to see what Thunderbot Sparta does. But Virtus.Pro coming out, both teams in the winners bracket, undefeated so far, so we'll see how they do as we hop into our first game, this best of 3 between Thunderbot Sparta and Virtus.Pro. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the League of Legends Pro League. My name is Rapid, with me is Sigilus. We're hopping into our first game, our second best of 3 of the night is Thunderbot Sparta, or just Team Sparta from EU West take on the CIS's Virtus.Pro, a team formerly known as Dragon Team, who did had some really good placings in previous star ladders. Nice to see them here on Virtus.Pro as one of the strongest teams representing the CIS. Come out here to face off against a team that already has put up some pretty big performances in EU West tournaments across the board.
Yeah, TBS have just been on dominating form. By far one of the best teams in this tournament, going 6-1 so far. And, you know, whoever wins this, they're going to be going forward to the finals of the winner's bracket, playing against the winner of Aces High and Rock's Kiss. So this game is really a good opportunity for them to get some high-level practice in, if nothing else. You know, obviously it's important to win it, but it's going to be a hard matchup when they go face those other teams in the winner's bracket.
Now, keep in mind, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rockskiss was the only team to take a game off of TBS, although I don't have the stats up in front of me. The big thing to notice about this game is going to be this Karthus pick for Power of Dreams. He's an outstanding top laner and a guy that I've seen carry more times than I can count, but how does that work out against Steve's Gnar? A strong player, strong champion, and that could be a little bit rough to deal with. We'll see how he decides to play this lane, because top lane Karthus is still a mystery to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying in the pregame, it's something that we saw a while ago, like a few seasons back, due to the fact that you could exert global pressure on the map even though you couldn't really roam from top lane. But now that we're in the teleport meta, he can roam and exert global pressure without even leaving the lane due to his ultimate Requiem. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Obviously, Gnar is a huge lane bully, and also Power of Dreams decided to start with the Doran's Ring. So if Steve puts down a lot of boomerang harass early on, that might bite him in the butt.
So overall, not anything too eventful. The jungler starting on the top side of the map. It's just going to be Sean's taking a blue buff, actually taking a lot of damage too, so he'll be first to use both of his potions, whereas Mirror and, of course, Pantheon has a much easier time through the jungle, and will be a higher health coming off of his first buff clear.
That was really nice in the bot lane, by the way. Virtus.Pro's bot lane hit level 2 first. And because, like, this bot lane, basically, Janna plus Jinx is really good at trading and harassing, but they're a lot worse when it comes to the all-in. Obviously, if Nono and Hercubot can land that headbutt pulverize combo onto someone, they can go pretty aggressive as a result of that. But because the amount of poke that's coming out of Vincent Vega and Licrit, they're doing a really nice job of staying high on the health value so far.
And I do want to correct myself, it was actually Aces High that took the one game off of Thunderbot Sparta, team from Turkey with Holy Phoenix, the X80 carry of Dark Passage. So something to keep an eye on. Another thing to keep an eye on is the continual battle up here in the top lane. That's what I'm going to be watching a lot. Bottom lane, though, has been pushing into, and Nono actually starting to lose out on a little bit on that. Hercubot, you can tell, maybe having a little bit less pressure in lane so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Hercubot is the sub for TBS. He is by no means a bad player. He is very, very strong, used to compete at a pro level back in the day, but he maybe doesn't have quite the same level of synergy built up with Nono as Lune does, so it's going to be hard for them to do quite the same in lane as Virtus.Pro's bot lane. Speaking of Virtus.Pro's bot lane, look at the amount of harass they're putting down. It's like I was talking about earlier, they are just laying into the bot lane of TBS right now. But this could all turn around if a good headbutt pulve goes down. Obviously, there's sustain on the side of TBS as well with that heal, so it's definitely possible for them to make something happen here. Top lane, like you were saying, though, Steve at the moment is doing a really good job of staying slightly ahead in CS, and he's coming down to the bot lane.
There's the flash in, pulverized headbutt backwards.
Oh.
Flame choppers are gonna miss, unfortunately, and they won't snare anybody, but they will deter the aggression there from TBS, and that's flash down for Hercubot.
Yeah, actually, a great Howling Gale interrupted the Lee Sin Q that was trying to jump onto him. It interrupted the Resonating Strike, so that stopped a lot of the pressure that was going down onto him. But good job by TBS to identify the fact that their bot lane was struggling a little bit and go in there. And no, he's being so aggressive all of a sudden.
And just great long-range harass from Vincent Vega using that switcheroo to get the rocket launcher out. And I like the way that this bottom lane for VP is playing. They know when to go aggressive. And sure, they lost the flash of their the flash summoner spell from their support Licrit, but they're able to just get so much of an advantage from playing that far forward. You can see Nono having a little bit of a rough spot. Their Zap actually blocked out, so not able to hit Nono and take him out. But man, mid lane's where some of the action is. Mirror's End is waiting for that gank, but Istari's playing safe and close to the turret, not giving up any opportunity. Mirror's End is just stuck there waiting for Istari to overextend.
There's the flip. Here we go.
Yeah, you already used that. The flash in. There's the stun. First blood for Pantheon. Mirror End picking that up for Virtus.Pro.
Really nice job. They're very patient of him to wait for so long. I think he waited for about a minute in that middle lane, but he knew at some point, you know, it was going to be an engagement from Istari with the playful Trickster, and he was going to be able to go get a stun quite easily there. Bot lane, I want to talk about something that happened there, because even though it looked like the lane was starting to equalize a bit, Hercubot ran out of mana because he was having to spam that Triumphant Roar so frequently, and as a result of that, he had to go back. Now if you look at the CS, Jinx is doing really nicely. They're able to go back with the wave push onto the tower and get items, so he's going to be able to compete with the pickaxe that's been picked up by Nono.
Man, talk about an interesting start to the game. One thing I also noticed is that Hercubot, he has the Ignite Summoner spell, so he's going to be all about getting in there and getting kills, rather than being that big tank support that you expect him to be a lot of times, usually picking up like heal or exhaust or something along those lines. So, and a little bit of a different style. And speaking of a different style, I got to take a look up to top lane, where Power of Dreams is only about 5-6 CS down in that matchup versus one of the strongest top laners in the top lane, Steve, and Gnar, his counterpart there. Really not able to bully out Karthus as much as I would have otherwise expected.
Yeah, Power of Dreams has been doing a good job of staying very far back from the minions. Obviously, your boomerang toss does start to return to you after it hits its first target. So if you stay far enough back, it's going to be hard for Steve to use it through the minions onto Power of Dreams. However, now that level 6 has been hit, there's a bot lane.
Another big engage there. Vince Vega getting a nice eye of the storm to keep him safe. That zap will land somehow, but Nono taking the worst part of that. Mirror End in the mid lane, gonna go down to Istari off of a big roam.
Really nice
taking
job
him down
there.
Apologies, I had to sneeze there for a second, so thanks for taking over. But yeah, like you said, a nice job off the roam. Trying to keep that, keep the pressure on and really catching Mirror End with nobody else to help him out. Great deep word coverage here from Thunderbot Sparta, really working out.
Yeah, and as a result of this, look at where Sean's roaming to. He's gone straight into the jungle of Mirror End, trying to find an opportunity to maybe be a little bit aggressive here. He's put a ward down onto the red buff, and Mirror End is actually heading there now. He just walked over a ward, though. He knows that TBS want to contest his red buff right now.
Yeah, Mirror End, he's on a ward, but yeah, it's not a big mystery that he's going to be facing a ton of jungle pressure, so he will actually call Power of Dreams down from the top lane, see if they can take this red buff, and most likely this will go over somewhat uneventfully.
Oh, Vega.
Yeah, I was going to say, this bottom lane just never lets up. Zap landing onto Hercubot, a lot of those rocket launchers hitting him in the face, and now Nono actually taking a little bit of pain back. They just can't get near this creep wave. Vincent Vega and Licrit putting out so much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, as a result of Sean's gank failing early on, it really burned a lot of Hercubot's mana, made it so that he couldn't properly deal with the poke that was coming out of Virtus.Pro's bot lane. Due to that, Virtus.Pro has gotten to the point where they can pretty much do whatever they want. They hit level 6 first, they went aggressive at the right time. Hercubot actually tried to knock Vincent Vega back towards the tower and start something, but Nono was just like, no, this isn't going to work. I'm going to back away because they're level 6 and I'm half health.
For Thunderbot this time, they got a nice kill off of a roam, but the biggest advantage I feel has been their deep ward coverage, and while most of it has expired now, it's allowed them to play very, very aggressively both top and mid. And the one lane that Thunderbot Sparta are actually losing in is bottom, but even that is not that big of a deficit. It's only like, 5 to 10 CS when you look at that, so out of everything that we've seen from this early game, the only big result has been, jungle pressure keeping Mirror End a little bit further down, but overall just not a lot of difference between both teams.
Yeah, and it's like you were talking about earlier on. I mean, obviously in the top lane, Steve is doing a decent job against Power of Dreams and CS. He's about 15 up right now. But I would have expected Power of Dreams to be doing worse. And bot lane, oh, great Howling Gale.
Yeah, big one to set this up. Now, Sean's is off to the back, so he can sneak up and maybe turn around to fight if Vincent Vega and Liquid decide to go too hard onto this. But choosing to recall here is a terrible decision because with Nono out of the picture, it's going to force Sean's to defend this turret, and it's going to deny a bunch of CS here to the turret, but instead of pushing it up, oh, this is really smart from Virtus.Pro. They're going to go for an early dragon, pull it out, and get Thunderbot here to come down from the mid lane to help them out with it with only Lee Sin in the area.
Yeah, and it's really hard for TBS to actually do anything about this. If Steve decides to teleport down, he's pretty heavily outnumbered with no bot lane there. They've also got VP's Power of Dreams, who can just use a Requiem if any kind of fight started. So really nice strategic play there by VP, noticing the fact that there's maybe a miss opportunity by TBS by recalling there and just going for it.
Now, one interesting thing about these changes, if TBS will give me an opportunity to talk about
them.
Top. Hercupod, yeah, might be in a little bit of problem. There's problems in the top lane, too. A big dive onto Karthus. Istari just chomping him down. We got action in the bottom lane at the same time. Vincent Vega gonna go down to Sean's. Just couldn't get back to the turret quickly enough. That's 2-for-0 exchange across the map for Thunderbot.
I feel like Thunderbot don't mind that trade too much. It was always going to be hard for Power of Dreams, and even if he kind of loses his lane, he's still going to be a pretty big threat later on just because of how well Karthus scales. So long as he doesn't die too many times, getting the kill on the bot lane and the tower is going to be well worth it by, Sean's is basically focusing on the lane that he needs to win rather than a different lane.
At this point in the game, the biggest problem for Virtus.Pro is going to be their top lane. Very, very vulnerable, and Sean's, more importantly, just great at finding weaknesses. He came into the mid lane earlier to relieve pressure and allow Astari to roam, and he came bottom lane there for the big double kill, or just a single kill onto Vincent Vega, which not only picked up those kills, but took down the first turret of the game and already started to drop those global objectives. But speaking of global objectives, we did have a dragon picked up for Virtus.Pro, although with the recent nerfs from 8% to only 6% additional attack damage and ability power, it's not as impactful as it would have been previously.
Yeah, it's not a huge buff. Obviously, the first dragon stack isn't the one which teams are really looking for. What they really want is that third and fifth stack. And actually, Sean's, he realizes there's a ward there, but I don't think he realizes that there's a cast in there as well. So nice job by him to get away. Using that Raptor buff to spot out where the wards are is a really nice tool that the new jungle has brought for these junglers. But looking at Istari here, he is roaming around a lot deep into the jungle of Virtus.Pro. He's trying to find some picks.
Rest in peace, Power of Dreams. He is not going to be having a good time here at all. Rock under the turret, and as long as Hercupod's here to draw this aggro, Power of Dreams is just going to die. Nice assist there from Nono, dropping a collateral damage behind the turret, but even Sean's was coming north to help out with that kill. Just so much pressure being put down there. Rift walk in from Thunderbot here, won't be able to pick off Istari, and just look at the ward coverage from Thunderbot's Sparta. They got 3 pink wards deep into the enemy upper jungle, and are just going to rotate up there to take their second turret of the game.
Yeah, Thunderbot Sparta are doing a great job of applying pressure in this early game. It's going to get them to a point in the mid game where they can do a lot. Steve, he was trying to get his Mega Gnar there. Oh, he actually fell.
Yeah, he could not stay alive. He was trying to defend the turret, but Vincent Vega just had too much damage. Sniped him off there at the end, and that's the way the cookie or the Gnar crumbles, as it were, with the first turret going to Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, I mean, really, Steve there was trying to get to a point where he could hit Mega Gnar, and he was very, very close. Obviously, when you get into that Mega Gnar form, you get a lot of base health back. The problem is that he just couldn't get there in time, so Vincent Vega did a great job of picking that up.
Great pick up there in the bottom lane. Really keeps Virtus.Pro in it. And VP, one of the struggles that they have had is that while sure they may be able to win their lanes, at least in the past, they tend to drop objectives early. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. It might not be Liquid coming back, but a big wall of pain comes out, and Istari is not going to dive through it.
Yeah, Hercubot wasn't really in position to go for the combo there as well. He's very low on mana and also a bit too far away. Sean's, whoa!
Big damage in there. Oh, the Stalker's Blade on the Vincent Vega. Can't kite away from that. Virtus.Pro picked a relatively immobile AD carry and Jinx and are starting to reap some of the struggles of that immobility. Same situation top lane. Great job by Thunderbot Sparta to just capitalize on the immobility of VP's lineup.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a big problem for VP in the early and mid games. Later on, hopefully they can get to a point where Power of Dreams, even though he's immobile, is just doing so much damage that it doesn't matter. It's going to take a while for them to get to that point, and they're not going to get to that point if they give up too much of a lead in the early and middle game. So it's important for them to kind of stop bleeding right now. Obviously, TBS is applying a lot of pressure. We need to see lots of wards coming out of VP and lots of grouping up to avoid getting picked off in situations like that.
Rotation from Steve after taking that top lane turret puts this pressure mid, but with Mirror End to defend and Vincent Vega getting back from base, shouldn't be all that much damage on the mid turret. Will be taken down to about 2/3 HP. But all this time gives not only the Rods of Ages time to stack up on VP, but gives Peter.Pro here some time on his own in a side lane. Although his Starry coming bottom is at a level disadvantage, but does have some items that he's gonna need to pick off Peter.Pro here, but no aggression so far. Just gonna walk down there. Actually, I didn't realize, yeah, Pieter is leading his team in CS, leading almost the game in CS with the exception of Steve and No. So his Cassin is gonna start to be very, very scary once he can get on towards a Zhonya's Hourglass.
Yeah, one of the great things about picking up a Kassadin for VP is that he's going to be able to split push and not get instantly killed by a Starry due to the fact that he's got the Null Sphere to give him a magic shield and the fact that he's building kind of tanky, so a lot of the damage coming out of the Starry isn't really going to be enough. But a flank here coming in, I think they're going to be able to get away though, VP.
Virtus.Pro are on a ward. There's the hit. Big pulverize to come in here, but Hercubot hasn't really done anything just yet. He'll pulverize their headbutt backwards to keep this fight going in their favor, but a re-engage from Pantheon. A lot of damage here onto Steve. Gets a big transformation. A Meganar into the wall. The collateral damage not actually all that effective as Peter.Pro here starts to clean up this fight. Will he be able to stay alive? Flashing back to the rest of his team. Some great mobility there from VP. He'll go back in onto his Starry. Playful. Trickster. Oh wait, one more. Riftwalk's gonna pick up the shutdown. Peter.Pro here coming up with the big third kill for him. Really switching, or second kill of the game for him. Now 202.
That was a really nice fight by VP. The only slight mistake there was that Power of Dreams propped his ultimate a little bit too early and didn't get the last Defile, or Lay Waste, sorry, onto No. But, you know, they're going to get a second dragon from this. They also got a bunch of kills, and if they get to the late game, they've definitely got a bit of an edge. So they're doing a good job of not giving up too much in the early game and not subduing succumbing rather, to the early and mid-game competition of TBS.
Hercubot waiting off to the side, but doesn't have any follow-up at all. He's just kind of making Peter.Pro here flinch a little bit as he is forced to Riftwalk back to base. But we talked about the Zhonya's Hourglass being so key, and with that gold, it'll be a needlessly large rod pickup to get him right on towards that item. So, man, this Cassin is going to start to be a really, really big problem. But Sparta do have their fair share of answers. They got a very, very strong mid lane in the Fizz, and we really didn't talk about Steve all that much. Well, Vincent Vega in the bottom lane, not going to have a good time. Going to get locked up, taken down there. One last auto attack from Starry to take him out, but a beautiful recovery there and kick backwards onto Peter.Pro here, but he's actually just going to Rift Walk back in. Slow does not land onto his Starry. Sean's could still be in a little bit of trouble. Continual Rift Walk, so much mana being used there. Sean's still trying to escape. Will flash over that wall. Peter.Pro here can't Rift Walk to chase because it just takes too much mana. He's at 4 stacks of Rift Walk, waiting for those to wear off in about 5 more seconds.
And actually that chase went on so long by VP that they lost a tower in the mid lane.
Big wall of pain here. Hercubot's pretty much dead. He's going to try to make it out alive. Wall of pain was very effective in keeping him corralled. And there is the cooldown coming back off again from Peter.Pro's Rift Walk to land the slope. And inevitably was kill picked up by Mirror's End.
I still think that was better for TBS, though. They ended up with the kill onto Vincent Vega. The important members of their team got away. Starry and Sean's not falling. Hercubot did, however, but they also got the tower in the middle lane. And really, they're doing a nice job of rotating around the map and applying pressure all over the place. They've already taken down 4 towers to the 1 of VP. Although VP, they're looking to change that right now, putting down mid lane.
Mid-turn's gonna go down. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket combined with the Force Bolt. Gonna pick up the kill there onto Nono, but a big gnar in the wall from Steve might let him get out of there alive. Turn around for another huge crunch, but it's just not enough. A double kill from Virtus.Pro here ties up the kill count at 8-8.
And they're trying to go for more towers here. I think they might be able to get this. Starry is very far away. They do get it. Now 3 towers to 4, and suddenly a lot of the lead that TBS have been getting from themselves has just disappeared. That was an excellent turnaround by VP, and really just capitalizing on the fact that everyone was so low from the extended fight that they could push very effectively with the fact that Power of Dreams, obviously if there was any kind of fight, he'd come back. They had a lot of their members still on full health, and not great there by Nono getting caught out, allowing VP to go for that dive. Chilling Smite landing on Steve kept him there long enough to pick up that kill too. VP really showing some chops here.
Virtus.Pro, after they left the lane phase, have been incredibly successful at out-rotating Thunderbot Sparta, but honestly, the same weaknesses still exist. Karthus and Jinx, very, very immobile champions, so if TBS actually find an opportunity to, catch somebody out, it's gonna be a really good chance of finding a kill. Although in that last fight, even though Thunderbot Sparta were able to find a pick on Vincent Vega, the follow-up, the team play from Virtus.Pro was able to turn that around into a big advantage for VP. So looking forward to seeing how this now 4-0 Virtus.Pro here with a Zhonya's Hourglass completed is going to be able to turn this game back in VP's favor. Now top lane, Vincent Vega going to take a turret, might be in a little trouble as Fizz walks top lane, but Janna is there for support. Liquid waiting back in the bushes.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to bait something in here. We've also got Mirror End nearby. Grand Skyfall is available for him to come and get them some backup. But really nice there by Vincent Vega, taking that tower basically for free. No one even tried to stop him. And meanwhile, Peter, he is just farming up in this bot lane, getting very, very strong. He's got 164 CS right now, even though... Or sorry, he's got 159 CS now. He's also 4 for 0 for 3. This Kassadin is a force to be reckoned with right now. And now that he's got Lasagna's complete as well, it's going to be really hard to instantly kill him, which is what TBS really need to be doing.
Talking about some big item completions, the Medjai's Soul Stealer being picked up there from Liquid has 7 stacks on it already because of course it starts at 5. Did pick up a couple more assists afterwards, so Liquid's already up at 102 ability power off of just that 1 AP item. So well, I guess he has the other AP from Spellthief's Edge, but you get the idea. It's very strong. Janna out there is just gonna keep picking up those stacks, and honestly the longer this game goes on, the scarier it gets. Jinx, a bigger hyper carry than Graves, in the same situation for Virtus.Pro's Kassadin, who's just going to be strong from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, Fizz in the late game, if he can instantly kill Vincent Vega, or potentially even Power of Dreams, it's still a good spot for TBS. The problem is that if you kill Power of Dreams, he comes back, at least for a while, keeps putting down that damage. And if you kill Vincent, it means that you've been ignoring Power of Dreams, and he's going to be laying down those lay wastes, doing ridiculous amounts of sustained damage. We need to see lots of picks coming out for TBS. They need to try and catch people out, try and instantly kill them when they do not have their team to back them up. That is the way that they're going to be able to beat this composition coming out of Virtus.Pro.
Dragon up in about 20 seconds means that we'll see another big clash around it. Now, first Dragon of the game did go over to, I think it was Thunder, was it? No, it was first 2 going over to Virtus.Pro. So with this third Dragon, 5% move speed buff is a big deal coming into this mid game when rotations and the speed at which you make them are so important. But good ward coverage in the area, and that's actually been true for basically the entire game for TBS. Big flash, there's Power of Dreams getting headbutted right into the middle of the enemy team. Virtus.Pro is there as well, and his Starry going to be forced to Zhonya's. There is the Karthus effectiveness, but a big gnar in the wall again from Steve. Can't tank through the Vincent Vega damage, and look at the disengage. Vincent still in there, not actually taking all that much damage. A double kill for Pantheon though means that this is going to be Virtus.Pro's fight. Sean's trying to escape but can't outrun the Kassadin. A double kill there for Virtus.Pro and Hercubot, the last member alive. An ace picked up in 25 minutes. Virtus.Pro finding the kills they need and a dragon after it.
This is exactly what I was talking about. You can instantly pop Power of Dreams, that's fine, but he's just gonna come back and keep laying waste to you. He did a really good job there of laying down the wall before he died too, meaning that he was able to just keep everyone grouped up, let Peter jump in, do a lot of the AoE. Vincent Vega as well with those rockets was doing a ton of damage in the close quarters fighting of the jungle. And also, right at the end there, Starry threw down the fish onto Licorice, and Sean's kicked Vincent Vega off of the fish. At that point, the fight was already lost, but it just added insult to injury. They couldn't even necessarily utilize that fish damage onto Vincent to try and get a return kill. But now, look at the items picked up on Vincent Vega. He's got a Phantom Dancer. That's an item which actually we just saw on the PvE getting buffed by Riot, because it's something that we don't see AD carries picking up that often nowadays. But the fact that they've got such a great late game comp, and the fact that having the ability to move through units is going to help him a lot in these close quarters fights, actually means that it's a really nice pickup for Vincent Vega this game.
Yeah, Phantom Dancer, it's all about the late game, and it's actually going to be changed up, at least from what the PvE says. It's actually going to get more critical strike chance, while Infinity Edge will lose a little bit of it. Big Gnar into the wall, double stun to start things off. That's going to be an explosion on Power of Dreams, but he's okay when he's dead. He's still dishing out damage, and Licorice, Vincent Vega, they're going to be in there, and while Mirror End is going to have to back out. Where is Virtus.Pro? He's coming down from the top lane. Super Mega Death Rocket almost catches Steve, but a nice face in the Mountain Shield will keep him alive. Rift Walk in from Pieter, will land a stun on a no-no. Flash out as that zap misses, but more stuns, more slows, and look at Virtus.Pro here coming in. More damage out there to take out Steve. Rift Walk through. There's going to be a Zonius to keep him alive. Will this be a kill? One more onto Hercubot, and a Rift Walk back out. Keeps Kassadin healthy.
Yeah, and the fish completely missing there at the end by Astari as well, so he couldn't even necessarily get a return kill. Really nice play by Virtus.Pro. There, we saw Power of Dreams get burst even when he wasn't grouped, which is exactly what TBS need to do. The problem is, with 5% movement speed from Dragon, in addition to 5% movement speed from Janna's Tailwind, the chase potential out of Virtus.Pro is ridiculous. They can stick on you regardless of where they're engaging from, basically.
Just to give you an idea of the difference that move speed makes, Nono is at 375 movement speed. Vincent Vega has 50 more move speed over him. And sure, you can look at the boots difference making a lot of that, but you gotta attribute the rest of it to, like you said, the Dragon, is additional mobility. So right now, Thunderbot Sparta, they had a good engage there. Like, that was a great way to start a fight for Steve. But unfortunately, Virtus.Pro was able to come in towards the end, clean things up, and a big smite there on the red buff. I believe that was actually Sean stealing it away.
Yep. He did manage to get that. Really nice job by him. That said, I mean, having the red buff on Sean's versus Mirror End isn't the hugest of differences. It's nice to have. The important thing is that it didn't go over to Vincent Vega, and that he would be very strong with it. Obviously, red buff gets a lot better the more attack speed you have, and Vincent Vega's got a Phantom Dancer and obviously the ability to attack very quick with his minigun as well, so not having that is a bit of a big deal for Vincent Vega.
Big pings on the side lanes as there are huge waves being built up by Thunderbot, somewhat unintentionally, but maybe an opportunity to put some pressure onto the Baron area. At least going to clear things out. Hercubot and Astari. Wait, that war... Oh my goodness, that pink ward doesn't see the ward in the back of the pit. They're baiting, but the pink ward is just barely out of range. Huge engage onto Thunderbot Sparta. Mirror End already going to get kicked back, but Baron's actually dealing a lot of damage to him. And look at Sean towards the back. He's very low. No, low as well. Look at Virtus.Pro. He's just going to kill them all. A big Zonius to keep himself alive. There's the Super Mega Death Rocket. Not going to hit anything. Virtus out of mana, but he'll find a triple kill at the end. And that's the importance of pink ward location. Thunderbot Sparta thought they were incognito, but Virtus.Pro knew exactly what to do.
That was amazing by Virtus.Pro, but also really unfortunate, frankly, for TBS. Look at how quick they killed that Dragon, too. That got absolutely melted. Obviously, if you have a Karthus on your team, that Defile does so much damage to Dragons and Barons, so they were able to get that very quickly, enhance recall back to base, clear the massive waves that TBS had going for them in the side lanes, and now Virtus.Pro are looking securely in the driver's seat of this game.
That ward trinket location was insane, and it just goes to show, and it's not like it's a bug or anything or any sort of glitch. That pink ward was just plain out of range. It was placed a little to the side of the Baron pit and didn't scout out the ward in the very back. So you gotta be careful, but bottom lane is Starry, or mid rather. Gonna flip all over the place, but couldn't get out alive. It was crazy because the directed camera was focusing bottom lane, and I was like, where's this actions at? And I was like, wait a second. Starry's in the middle of 4 champions, so not a good place to be.
All right, well, we're gonna see a pretty big push down the middle lane here by VP. They've got the Baron buff. Minions obviously gonna let them siege really nicely. Starry isn't on the side of TBS. He has got 15 seconds or so on his respawn timer. And VP, this is their time to shine. They're going for the tower here. Wall goes down.
Wall of Pain is a great zoning tool, and Power of Dreams knows if he's the first one to die, it still gives his team plenty of time to take out the first inhibitor of the game. At 30 minutes, it's going to Virtus.Pro.
Really nice job there, and at this point, you know, what we were talking about earlier is still the case. We need to see TBS make some picks. The problem is, Virtus.Pro aren't splitting up. They don't need to. They can just go for these 5v5 fights. Normally with a Kassadin, you'd go for those split pushes, but it's just pointless for Virtus.Pro to do that when their team fight is so strong. So there's no openings here for Thunderbot Sparta. They need to make a miracle play right now.
Tons of siege potential from all these dragons. A super mega death rock. Unfortunately, that summoner heal. And an engage through the turret. Pincer poker. Gonna pop that Zhonya's, allowing Liquid to take up the turret. Vega to dive with the damage. There's the Requiem coming up from on high. An immediate smite for the kill from Mirror End. Gonna be one way to take out his Starry. That's first inhibitor. Second inhibitor gonna fall. And along with it, Virtus.Pro will take down game number 1 over Thunderbot Sparta.
Apparently Karthus is a mid-game pick rapid. I actually never realized that before, but Virtus.Pro really just made the mid-game work for them, even though, to begin with, I mean, we saw a pretty big kill lead coming out of TBS. They need to up their game in this next game of the match if they want to go up to face against Rock's Kiss or Aces High in the next game, or rather the finals of the winners bracket.
Yeah, and you can say a lot of things about Thunderbot Sparta's strong early game, but ultimately it all came down to that Baron buff, where one misplaced ward cost TBS that fight and ultimately allowed Virtus.Pro to snowball in for the win. But it is a best of 3, like you said, Asigalis, so we'll be hopping into a quick commercial break before we get into game number 2. This best of 3 series between Virtus.Pro and Thunderbot Sparta. You're watching the LOL Pro League here, $20,000 on the line. For more information, make sure to follow LOL Pro League on Twitter, lol.p.league on Facebook, and head over to lolpl.org for results.